There's something in the news very troubling. We need to address it together. A Facebook Live video where there are 4 black individuals torturing, abusing a white individual. He happens to be mentally disabled as well. And amazingly, it was posted on Facebook and even stayed up, I think, for a half hour afterwards. And amazingly, people were foolish enough to post their horrific actions on Facebook. And in the midst of it, they were saying F Donald Trump and F white people and things like that. So the questions come up, is it a hate crime? How should it be viewed? So there's dialogue on CNN, and you've got to hear, there's someone speaking, and then Don Lemon is going to come on. You've got to hear what Don Lemon had to say.
I mean, it's man's inhumanity to man. It's brutality is what it is. And I think the fact that this is a vulnerable person who was probably duped into sort of going along with them, it appears, somebody who is mentally disabled, I think makes it even more sickening. But, you know, Don, I mean, at the end of the day, you just try to wrap your head around evil. That's what this is. It's evil. It's brutality. It's man's inhumanity to man. And
I don't think it's evil. I don't think it's evil. I think these are young people, and I think they have bad home training.
Don Lemon, what Matt Lewis said, commentator right before you, is absolutely right. This is evil. It is evil. It is man's inhumanity to man. Maybe they did have bad home training. Grandmother of one of the people in the video, young lady, said, I raised her from birth. That's not who she is. No. Maybe some of them had bad training. But even with bad training, you make evil choices. That is evil. That is categorical evil. That is man's inhumanity to man. But what makes me wonder about all of this is, would you have said this in a different context? If it wasn't F Donald Trump and F white people and 4 black people attacking a white person, if it was the reverse and they were saying F Barack Obama and F black people, and it was 4 white people torturing, and it's over a 24-hour period, a disabled black young man, would you have said the same thing? This is an extraordinary statement, a shocking statement, a shameful statement, and something that seems far below Don Lemon, who obviously, sir, you want to present yourself as a caring man. I believe you are caring in many ways. Why can't you recognize this as just evil? Sir, you need to look in the mirror and ask yourself, if the tables were radically turned, would you have had that same comment? Now listen to Democratic strategist Simone Sanders talking about whether or not this is a hate crime.
We cannot callously go about classifying things as a hate crime. Motive here matters. So was this for hate of Donald Trump, the president-elect, because of things that he has said, or was this for pure hate of white people? That matters, because if we start going around and anytime someone says something or does something really egregious, really bad and sickening in this instance in connection with the president-elect or Donald Trump or even President Obama for that matter, because of their political leanings, that is slippery territory. That is not a hate crime. Hate crimes are because of a person's racial ethnicity, their religion, their gender, a disability. It is your political leanings, because someone doesn't like your political leanings and they do something bad to you. That is not a hate crime.
Alice, even
Oh, hang on. Why is it then, for so many, for years, for 8 years now, the moment we disagree with President Obama as president in respectful terms, we're called racist. We're told we're having an issue because he's black. We're told we're speaking against him because he's a black man, because we don't like a black man in the White House. I mean, it's been a minority who've insulted me with that garbage for years now. It's garbage because it's the last thing on my mind. I was thrilled to see a black couple in the White House. Just was upset that it was Barack Obama because I thought he was the wrong guy. But I absolutely wanted to be able to have the privilege of voting for our first black president. I just couldn't, out of conscience, knowing what his views and positions were on things that were very critically important to me as a follower of Jesus. But that's the whole problem. With all respect, Simone Sanders, yes, you can't jump at everything and call it a hate crime. Absolutely true. But what have we heard for years? Again, you're telling me if it was white people saying F Barack Obama and F black people and torturing a disabled black person, the whites torturing a disabled black person, saying F black people, F Obama, that you would not just jump up and immediately say that's a hate crime? And see, that's hatred for Barack Obama as he's being black, and now it's hatred being poured out on that young person, that disabled person, because they're black. People would jump to that. Look, there's a whole question about whether the whole hate crime category is constructive or not. It was set in motion for certain reasons. It can be abused. And yes, wherever we could expose racial hatred and ethnic hatred, religious hatred, let us expose it. Let us shout it from the rooftops together. Absolutely. Let us do that. But this is bogus. This is absolutely bogus to say, well, we have to really make sure. Okay, if you had been doing that for 8 years, I'd go along with it. But we've heard the opposite for 8 years. And now suddenly, when there's more video evidence of black on white crime and things like that, and the knockout game that's been played for several years now, normally black on white, we have video evidence of that. So let's, hold up the video evidence where a white cop shoots an unarmed black person who wasn't fighting back and was no threat. Let's hold that up for the world to see and let justice be done. And let justice be done here. How about equal balances and scales? And although President Obama now has referred to this in the context of a despicable hate crime. Initially, the White House was slower to address this. Listen to what Josh Earnest, the White House press secretary, says about the proper way of proceeding with this.
I believe it's important for us to defer to the important work that local law enforcement must do in investigating these kinds of incidents. So I don't want to say a whole lot more than that. But obviously, this is something that's gotten a lot of attention, and for good reason.
Yeah, and when he was pressed, he would not say it was a hate crime. Okay, once again, I agree. Let local law enforcement do its thing. Yeah, we have the video evidence. Right, fine, but let's get the whole story. Let local law enforcement do what's right. Where was that same mentality when a white policeman arrested a black professor in the Boston area, Professor Henry Gates, who was thought to be breaking into a house, happened to be his own house he was trying to get into? Why did our president immediately say that the police acted stupidly? In point of fact, the officer was exonerated. Later, Barack Obama reached out to him to sit and have a beer together, and the officer did not have a racist bone in his past, and he acted in a way that seemed to be correct based on a neighbor's report and based on the professor's response. He did what a police officer would do and should do. He did not act stupidly, but the White House weighed in. And over these 8 years now, the White House has weighed in without hearing from local law enforcement. With one case after another, the Department of Justice has weighed in, and it has further exacerbated racial tensions in America. So what gets me here is the hypocrisy of it. Yes, I'm glad that the concerns of many African Americans about injustice and bad treatment by the legal system, by police, I'm glad more evidence of that is coming out so others can share in the outrage where it needs to be pointed and where justice needs to be done. But the hypocrisy, the double standards here, mind-boggling, absolutely. Let's use this as a teachable moment.